Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And the last time I just gave you an overview of what this video is to be. So last time I visited this SignIn UI and there is a form here which we will be using in our login form. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this command in our terminal. npm dlx SignIn at latest add form. So here is my terminal and let's type here npm dlx SignIn at latest add form, and here there is it's already exists, so we have to just know it, and there you go, it was installed now. And another thing that we have to add is the input here. That is because if we look at here in our code of what has been added, we can do that using get. And as you can see, we have a new file here created in the directory source component UI, the directory created by SignIn. There is label and form. And as you can see also, the package.json and npm.yml has been modified. So let's inspect the package.json git add -p, and here we can see resolvers react -label. There is also react hook form, and the tailwind CSS was added for validation. And now let's add this another requirement, the input, because here the structure, I think this form is just a wrapper around the React form library. It provides a few things, composable components for building form field component for building controlled form fields, form validation using JSON, handles accessibility and error messages, uses React use ID for generating unique IDs, applies the correct area attribute to form fields based on states. But it doesn't mention about the input. So let's go ahead and add this input, the same command. We just have to change the input. Now here we just have to locate again our command earlier and type input, and there you go. So if we check again the package.json, nothing was changed, but we can see here it created a new file, input.tsx. So there are 3 files already added there. And let's dig deeper into React hook form. Here it is said that forms are tricky, and form is the most common things for building a web application, and it also pointed out what consists of a well-defined HTML form: a well-structured and semantically correct, easy to use and navigate, keyboard, accessible with ARIA attributes and proper labels, and support for client and server-side validation, well-styled and consistent with the rest of the application. I read already these features earlier, and here is the anatomy of the form. So you have the form, and you have a form field, and the form field has some properties: control, name, render, and inside the render is form item, form label, form control. Form control is where the input field, form description, and form message. Here's the example: use form and assign it as form field. So here it calls this function use form and was assigned to this constant variable, and this constant variable serve as the control object of this form field, and the name is username, the field, and the input is placeholder and the fields. This is your public display name, and then the message. And installation usage, step number 1, create the form schema. Define the shape of your form using JAD schema. You can read more about using JAD in the JAD documentation, which I already opened here, the JAD documentation, so there's a lot to read here. Now that we install this form, now let's create a form. Let's move this form to a new window and zoom it. And this form, let's remove this form. The children is missing I see sky wrapper. So in here we will call our form. We did not import. There you go. So now we have a form, and let's type here use client so that it can be rendered properly in the browser. After that, we need to import the JAD. Import Z from JAD. So let's type that in here. Z from JAD. Next is we need to define a form schema. So J.object, and it accepts an object G-string. In here, let's create a schema constant form schema. Actually what was being suggested here is actually the intention schema for this login form. So let's do that and have a G that object. This is G has property object which accept the object, and we can pass in some properties that can define email with type string that email. So the email field will be type string and will be verified as email. And then the password is a type of string and the minimum of 1 because this is the login form, this is not a registration form, so the user already declared the length of their password, so the login form don't have to prevent how long the password string, but during the input at least it should require that the user enter at least 1 character. And another thing here is define a form. Use form hook from React hook form to create a form. So there is a highlighted here JAD resolver from hook form resolver JAD and use form. Let's add that here. JAD resolver import use form from React form. And here I don't think we need to define a function because we already have a function here, login form. So the next thing that I'm going to do is declare this form and then use form with the type of G_infer type of form schema, which is this one, resolver JAD resolver form schema default values. I don't think we need a default values. I just realized that this import form is not correct, so let's remove this one and just erase the M, type M, so that the editor will suggest what to import. And let's import the UI form, which is the form that comes from SignIn. So now this is the correct form. So go back here, we need to create a profile form. Let's create similar like this. Use form z.invert type of form schema, then resolver, calling the JAD resolver function, passing the form schema, and have a default value. So get back here, const form equals to use form. Okay, so resolver, there are some guides here. JAD resolver, which accept the form schema object above. Form schema, and the next thing is that one, similar to the suggested default values, which is an object that has the blank email and blank password. Let's have terminator there. Now this use form, it must have a type, infer, and type of form schema, and syntax error. Alright, so let's go back on here. Next, we need to have something like this. Inside our form, we need to have a form field with a control. So let's go here and let's have a form field. From UI form, and the next thing is it should have form item. Form item. Inside form item, it should have a form label, email, and next it should have form control, and here we need an input, and here we need a form message. This are self-closing. Now the form field, it has a props control. It should be a form that control, and the name is email and render. Now data field, this is an arrow function, and our form item should be inside this render. And here, let's spread the field. And have a placeholder here. Your name at example.com, and also the type is equal to email. Now the form control is complaining that is because it needs to be imported from the UI brace. It should be open and close parentheses and paste that. So let's visit in our browser, and I have this issue. Type error, get field state is not a function. Get field state. So let's go back here, and the reason for that is it needs to have this initial props. So once we have that, now our form renders the form input. And the next thing that we can do is just duplicate this for password field and change the label to password, and this one like asterisk, and the type is password. And there you go, we have now the email and password input here in our Auth login form. Let's try. Just press the enter, but it's not, the validation is not working. I don't see also a form here. When I type in here, or it seems not working. I'm expecting some validation message to appear, but it's not. And also the gap of the email and the password. So going back here, let's add the native form with on submit event and form that handle submit, accepting the function. And let's have a class name flex dash full gap in the y-axis of 4, maybe with full as well. Hit enter, and let's move this inside the form. And back here, refresh. Now the spacing is quite clean now. Enter, it's still not working. And instead of this, we can use space y 6, refresh, and we have the same effect here in our form. And the next thing we need to do here is, as suggested by here, we need to add the button type submit and log in. And we need to import this button from the UI button. Now you can see here the button. This button should be inside the form, right? Because if we inspect the element, we can see here is the form, that email, the password, and here is the button for submit. Now if we click submit, the error messages show up. And let's modify this message here, because this is too technical. String must contain at least one character. So in our password here, we can go like that. Message, the password is required. Refresh our page here, and let's just submit the login, and there you go, the password message is required. Alright, now that we have our login form, the next thing we need to do is to handle the submission of the form in the next video. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening to me and watching this tutorial, and see you next.